Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar, Open University.
Good wishes to dear learners. Welcome to Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar, Open University, Ahmedabad, English video sessions. Today we are going to discuss first year BA main as well as subsidiary paper, course number 102, that is about Introduction to Language and Literature, and the course deals with block 13 unit number, block 2 unit number 14. So let us discuss right now. Look, as I have told you, first year BA English and main subsidiary 102 and block 3 unit 14. So let's discuss the topic of language related information today, as the topic deals with syntax and pragmatics. So before discussing the syntax and pragmatics, you need to see what has already learnt in the previous chapters of lexical semantics, what you learnt in phonology, what you learnt in morphology, what are the lexical categories, what are the phrasal structures, what actually comes in the formation of the words, and then afterwards finally you can go for the topic of syntax and pragmatics. So let's discuss the topic with a view to PowerPoint presentation that will be very useful to you while writing the answers as well. Syntax and pragmatics. Look, this is the first topics, first information about syntax. It is the key component of linguistics. Syntax is the scientific method of linguistics. When person reads without making any conscious efforts, she is not aware of that cognitive process which happens in the mind. Still, that cognitive process makes semblance that something is coming out. As for example, the meaning is gained. So the syntax is the matter, it is the topic, it is the particular perspective which deals with the scientific method of language, how the language works scientifically, how the sentences are created, what will be the connection of the words, and how the sentence would be generated with a view to words. Those things would be understood, would be clearly mentioned over here in the matter of syntax and pragmatics. Still, that cognitive process makes semblance that something is coming out. As for example, the meaning is gained. The study of understanding of the mystery of the language is termed as linguistics. Language is a psychological and cognitive process. Some set of neurons work to understand, to translate, to engulf the meaning, to explore the language. Look, all these things which are in a bracket that you understand, you need to understand that these are the basic functionings of syntax. How the syntax works, or what is actually the meaning of the syntax. It is the component of linguistics. It's okay. It is the matter of language. That is clear. It is a part of semantics. That means again related with language. But what actually functions, what actually works, what is the do's and don'ts of syntax. As for example, how the syntax works, that if you want to learn, then you need to see that language is a psychological and cognitive process, and how language could be understood in our mind. When you listen to one simple sentence, how will you understand that word, that sentence, which is very important to understand, to translate, to engulf the meaning, to explore the language. That is related with syntax. The process of collection of alphabets into coherent ideas, transition from symbols to coherent meaning. Look, actually when you see some of the alphabets which are adjoining and they create the word, and the adjoining of the words create the sentences. So basically our mind, our brain is continuously trying to understand the sentences with a view to the combination and compilation of alphabets. Basically, there is an understanding by the scientists and the linguists that when some of the words are understood by the students who are very new, they try to generate the word and the meaning of the word or the pronunciation of the word by default with their exercises of brain, with the exercises and with the help of brain. So that is basically the work of neuron is in our mind, it's in our brain, and how they are creating the meaning of the sentences, the meaning of the language. That is basically the understanding of the syntax. So I think the meaning of the syntax word is clear to you. Look again, try to remember the definition: the process of collection of alphabets into coherent ideas, transition from symbols to coherent meaning, how sentences are structured, as for example syntax. So this is basically very clear when we discuss about how sentences are structured. Before that, let me go to one definition again. Look, here you have seen that language is a psychological and cognitive process. So you try to understand that language is basically related with the process of brain, the process of mind. When the neurons are connected with each other, when 2-3 neurons are trying to understand the language, the other neurons would be trying to understand the language in a mother tongue, in the first language. Basically English is the second language for Indians. Those who are the Indians, they are genuinely speaking their mother tongues. The Gujaratis speak Gujarati language, Karnataka people speak Kannada language, Maharashtrians speak Marathi language, Punjabi people, they speak Punjabi language. So basically the language has itself a cognitive body in its brain, in the brain of the person, whoever is speaking, whoever is listening, whatever the language he or she deals with. And that translation thing, the working of translation activity, it also parallelly, simultaneously goes in the brain and in the mind of a person when he is trying to understand a second language. Here I again focus on to understand, to translate, to engulf the meaning, engulf in the sense understand, or try to find the surrounding meaning of the word, to explore the language. These are the things which are basically under the category or under the main umbrella term of syntax. So now let's again go for that word syntax in a clear, precise answer, how it is prescribed in your books. That's what is shown over here, how sentences are structured. Look, so to be very clear to you, I can let you know that syntax is nothing but the structure of words. As for example, there is a dialogue between the customer and the shopkeeper. The whole dialogue patterns, they could be considered the pragmatics, how they have been discussing. And that whole dialogue pattern contains words, sentences, grammar as well, grammatical terms, and that is why they are going to be known under the main name of syntax. Look, here there are 3 things which are mentioned over here. Syntax studies the level of language that lies between words and the meaning of utterances. Look, words and the meaning of utterances, that is sentence. Basically, if some words are spoken, go, come, sit, eat, then these are merely words. But if the same words are spoken in the matter of meaning, in the matter of sentence, in the matter of discussion, in the matter of communication, they will be quite different. Go, come, sit, please sit. So you can see that in imperative sentences, you know the meaning of imperative sentences. They are merely showing you the verb only. And sometimes there are other words also. But imperative sentences do not take the subject as well. So naturally those kinds of sentences, they are merely the reflection of words, and that is why the meaning of utterances will be the sentences in imperative sentences. And in the same way, those imperative sentences could also be categorized over here in syntax. It is the level that mediates between sounds that someone produces and what they intended to say. Look, when a person produces the sound, speaks the word, it's a quite different thing, and when he is intentionally trying to say certain word, it is also one another different thing. So there are two different kinds of categories. When you speak the word is a different thing, but when you speak the same word in a sentence, it will be understood with a view to the whole sentence. That is what you have already learnt in lexical semantics. Lexical semantics is nothing but actually the understanding of compiled words, combination of words, phrases and adjectives and adjective clauses, noun clauses, whatever clauses and phrases, they create the sentences, and those sentences could be known as lexical semantics. Here the same thing could be mentioned as syntax. The words and the meaning of their utterances, the meaning of their pronunciation, the meaning of their way of speaking in the sentence, the meaning of their way of delivering the same words in a communicative language could be known as syntax. Now I think you will be somewhat more clear as I am talking about the word and its utility in the communication language is different, and that utility in the communication language is known as syntax. Syntax is basically the science of language. We can say it is nothing but the linguistics of the language, and words can be put together to make up larger units such as sentences. So that is also one kind of functioning of syntax. So basically I think now the things regarding syntax is clear to you. Still we are going much more deeper in the same topic. Yes, you can see that words can be put together to make up larger units such as sentences. These things we have already discussed. Now again there is a definition. Basically the journey goes from the produced sounds to interpreted meaning due to the structure of the sentence is termed as syntax. Look, this is the fundamental definition of syntax which you should mention right in your assignments and your works as well. You can understand it. Again, let me clear it. The journey goes from the produced sounds to interpreted meaning due to the structure of the sentences. As for example, the produced sound is conversation, and interpreted meaning due to the structure of the sentence is conversation. The same thing could be understood in the syntax when the whole word is taken in the sentence form. The princess kissed the frog. Again there is another sentence B, you can say the frog kissed the princess. So basically both the sentences which are written over here, the princess kissed the frog or the frog kissed the princess, are taking same kinds of words, but the meaning would be naturally different. The princess kissed the frog in the sense the princess liked the frog, and the frog was going to be converted into the prince. You know, if you know the fairy tale stories, there is a very famous story of the princess and the ugly frog, how he was converted when the princess kissed him. He was converted into the prince because of some monster or some fairy or some goddess's curse. He was converted into the frog previously. The same story becomes quite different when there is sentence B, the frog kissed the princess. So basically, merely the transformation of the words is an important factor in the understanding of the syntax. Syntax could be understood as a structure also. The construction of the sentences is known as syntax. Very easily I am telling you, the structure of the sentences in a colloquial dialogue, in communication, in day to day talk, or in even in writing of the sentences, even they could be considered the syntax. The meaning changes as per the sentence, and there are some fundamentals of grammar of a language. Look, when the meaning changes, as for example here in sentence A and B, you can see that the B sentence changes as per the words change, and there are some fundamentals of grammar of a language, they also will be changed, because here the frog is the object in the first sentence, and in the second sentence you can see the frog becomes the subject and the princess becomes the object. So the situation of the word is also changed according to the making of the sentence, and that's why it becomes an important factor to learn about the syntax. Syntax is concerned with the ways in which sentences are making of words and their sequential arrangement. Look, here the word says that syntax is concerned with the ways in which how sentences are created, sentences are made, and that making of the words and their sequential arrangement, how the word is kept in the first place, or it is going to be taken in the second place, or it is going to be kept in the end, in the last phase. That is very much important. As for example, the princess and the frog kissed each other. If there is sentence C, I haven't written sentence C, but I am just trying to give you the example. The princess and the frog kissed each other. Naturally the sentence changes, the word's situation is also changed, and the same way syntax changes. That is why the syntax is dealing not only with the word but the formation of the sentence, as well as the grammar of the sentence, and even the pronunciation, produced sound of the sentence. These are basic things which are necessary to understand the syntax. So I think now things are quite clear to you. Syntax as a cognitive science. Look, whatever you learn in the second language, basically, even in the first language it happens, but we are talking about second language because English is the second language for you people, and that's why we have to, by default you need to understand, or hypothetically you should keep it in your mind, that language is a part of cognitive learning. Language is the matter of cognitive understanding. The language works in our mind cognitively. Syntax is the study of sentences which are made up of words and how those sequences of words are interpreted. Look, it is the basic study of sentences. If you want to study the sentence scientifically, if you want to study the sentence in an elaborate way, just to dissect the sentence, how the sentence works, if you want to see the dissection of the sentence, basically syntax is the main term, or it is the main tool which could be utilized to understand the sentences. Sequences of words are also interpreted. Look, as I told you earlier, where is the particular word kept? In the first line, in the first beginning of the sentence, or in the second, or in middle part, or the word goes in the last phase. That is very much important. That's why the first point says over here, tells us that syntax is the study of sentences which are made up of words and how those sequences of words are interpreted. Language appears in structures, and the study of syntax is an important foundation stone for interaction and communication. Look, as I told you, communication, interaction, foundation stone of language deals with the syntax. if one knows the structure of the syntax, the study of the syntax, how the sentence could be emerged, how the sentence could be submerged, how the sentence could be created, how the sentence could be constructed, then naturally the students, the person, the speaker, the language learner could know that foundation stone of interaction and communication is done very well, very satisfactorily. So I think that you must be keeping things in your mind that syntax is nothing but study of the words and sentences as per the production of the sounds, as per the communication of the language. That is what is syntax is. And Chomsky and his colleagues, they have given many ideas and ideologies regarding the topic of syntax and pragmatics, as well as, and Chomsky has also given many ideologies and thoughts and theories regarding linguistics and language patterns, regarding semantics. There is one very important book which is in front of you. You can read the name Transformational Grammar, or there is another name Transformational Generative Grammar. Both these books are written by N. Chomsky and his fellow beings. The work says, look what is in the work, that is also very important. Our creations of sentences are outcomes of our subconscious syntax, look, which are presupposed in our brain while utilizing the language. The things which I have been telling to you, cognitive learning, the same idea is represented over here in this particular work. The work says our creations of sentences are outcomes of subconscious syntax, and the same subconscious is reflected in the language. It is reflected in our speech. It is reflected in our day-to-day colloquial communications. So how the language is created in the mind of the child, how the language is created in the mind of the foreigner who had never learnt an unknown language. If a foreigner of France or Spain or Japan, one who has never heard anything about Telugu language, and if he goes to South India and he listens Telugu for 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, naturally in his dreams, in his cognitive learning, he would listen the words of Telugu. As for example, many words you know of Telugu which are very famous, Anna, Ani. So these could happen because of the cognitive patterns and cognitive learning of the brain. And this cognitive learning is naturally a scientific thing, it's a psychological thing, and that is what is mentioned over here, that subconscious understanding. Subconscious is naturally psychological. You will know that there are 3 kinds of brain: conscious brain, which right now we are discussing, you are listening to me. Subconscious means the brain that works while you are sleeping, or you don't know what happens actually in your brain. That is what is known as sixth sense. And of course there is one conscience also, transcendental brain, which deals with our understanding of what is good and what is not good. So that is conscience. So basically, regarding the psychological understanding of the language, syntax is also the part of understanding and grasping of the language in a very subconscious, in a very psychological way, in a very cognitive way of learning. Substitution and word classes. The man writes, the woman dances. Look, these are the 2 examples which are mentioned over here. If the words are changed here, the meaning will also be changed. Words are generally trying to follow the phrase types. The basic units of syntax are words. If you want to learn syntax clearly, you need to learn the words. The words can be classified into different lexical categories according to 3 criteria. Look, there are 3 criteria which are given to understand lexical categories. Again, now I will stop over here and let you remember the things which are discussed in the lexical categories. You have to see that video of block number 2 and it is about lexical semantics, lexical categories, and lexicography, where most of the things of lexical categories are distinguishingly explained that you need to see over there. Here there are three things, look: meaning, morphological form, and syntactic functions. So how these three things work together: meaning is important, morphological form is important, and syntactic functioning is also very much important to understand the structure of the sentences. As for example, the semantic criteria for an is noun, v verb, a for referring to a property, a for adjective as well, and adverb shows the referring to the manner of location of time, place, and action. So all these n, v, a, and adverb, that will be naturally mentioned in the sentence when the sentence is going to be studied. These are the parts of syntax also, because as we discussed, grammar is also a part of study of syntax. Look, the main goal of syntax is building a grammar and the utilization of lexical categories. What is lexical categories? Again, you need to see that video clearly, understand lexical categories. I can tell you right now, lexical categories is merely the formation of words with the use of suffixes, affixes, prefixes, and with the usages of phrases, adjectives, and adverbs, as well as clauses. All this compilation and combination of words create the sentences, which is known as lexical categories. So that you need to understand over here clearly. Afterwards you will be in a condition to understand syntax and pragmatics. That man ran off. Look, that is mentioned over here, showing the arrow det. Det is determiner, an is noun, man is noun naturally, ran is a verb, you know that, and off shows the adverb. How the man ran, the way of working of the verb in an action shows the adverb. That's why off is an adverb. So the sticking of words together and formation of words with phrases and clauses and the cluster of words is lexical semantics. Look, I already told you, and the same thing is written also over here. So I think you will be very clear to understand the things. According to the narrow view, pragmatics is concerned with usages of language and users of language. Now look, we are switching to the next topic, pragmatics. I told you in the beginning that we are going to discuss the syntax and pragmatics. About syntax, I think you are clear. That is the study of creation of the sentences, the study of the structure or the construction of the sentences, and now we are discussing pragmatics. It's a communicative action. Look, here language and language user is primary. They are primary. Who is the person who is discussing, speaking, communicating, talking, answering, replying, questioning? That thing becomes very much important. Language user means the person who speaks, and language itself, the things which are spoken in the language. Both these things are in center to understand the word pragmatics. Pragmatics rejects the system of signs or set of rules. Look, here it is clearly shown that system of signs, in the sense words are not important, but the whole dialogue is important. Sit, come, eat are not important, but when a person speaks the same words in dialogue form, in imperative sentences, in whole dialogue, one dialogue in connection with another dialogue, one communication sentence in connection with another communication sentence, that becomes important. That is pragmatics. Pragmatics is whole speech events. Look, it's dialogues. As for example, the best communication strategies which are mentioned over here: right body language, storytelling technique, emotional involvement of the audience. All these things are shown to show the communication discussion. But talking is important. Talking as interaction, talking as transaction, talking as performance. These kind of talks, dialogues and communications are pragmatics. The examples are shown over here. Look, here is the example of the discussion between, it is the dialogue between customer and shopkeeper. I am just looking for the fabric wear. How do you like this pattern? Shopkeeper asks. And this material is nice. What is it? Customer, is this the only color of this style? I am looking for a handbag. Shopkeeper says, look at this one. Do you like it? And customer says, it's too large. What about the one next to it? And then again the customer says, it's good. I'll take the brown one. So basically the discussion, the communication between the customer and the shopkeeper, the whole slot, the whole dialogue, these kind of whole dialogue could be kept under the category of pragmatics. A customer wants to buy some scarves. Man, welcome to a department store, madam. Customer, thank you. I'd like to have a look at some scarves. Man, please come here. There are so many colors for your choice. Customer, they are very pretty. Man, so they are. Do you like the red one? Customer, is the color fast? Man, of course not. Then customer, let me see. Well, I think I like it. How much? Man says, $36. Customer says, okay, I'll take it. Man, anything else? And customer says, I want to select one for my daughter too. So now we end up with the session of syntax and pragmatics. Syntax is the study of structure of sentences, the understanding of the structure of the sentences, as well as the pragmatics is known as speech event, the communication matter. That is why both of these topics are clear to you, and I think that I'll help you a lot more again. Wish you very good luck. Goodbye. Have a great day.